This episode of Nutshell Brainery is brought to you by The Courage to Succeed, Discover and Achieve What Matters Most, and Tell Everything Else to Take a Hike by Lon Schiffbauer. Now available at Amazon.
Every time we communicate, we do so with the intent of affecting our environment by influencing those around us. Babies cry to get fed. Instructors explain how to use a piece of equipment. Groups get together to brainstorm ideas so that they can decide on the best course of action. Families gossip to increase filial bonds and reinforce social norms. Teenagers ask their parents if they can borrow the car, and parents ask the teenagers if they've finished their homework. This is the power of communication. It allows us to come together, influence one another, and collaborate to accomplish we communicate. The purpose of communication is to inspire, influence, and affect the attitudes, feelings, and behaviors of others for a specific intent. Now I know what you're thinking, that this sounds disconcertingly nefarious and hedonistic. Isn't affecting the attitudes, feelings, and behaviors of others for a specific intent just a fancy way of saying manipulating others to get our way? Not necessarily. At its core, communication is different from manipulation. Manipulating someone means to control or influence them unfairly or unscrupulously. Manipulators typically have an ulterior motive known only to themselves, one that doesn't give a rat's patootie about the needs or welfare of the other person. By contrast, good communication happens when both parties seek to influence and be influenced in an open exchange of ideas conducted in good faith. Now, hold on to this idea of influencing and being influenced. We'll come back to this. But can't the tools of communication be used to manipulate others? Without a doubt. In a way, communication is like fire. It's amoral, which is to say, in and of itself, it's neither good nor bad. Fire can be used to cook our food and heat our homes. But in the same way, it can also be used to incinerate whole cities. It's not what it is, it's how it's used. In the same way, the awesome power of communication can be used in both positive and negative ways. All the more reason to learn what we're doing when we open our mouths. In this video series, we're not talking about how to trick, fool, or hoodwink somebody to get our way through the power of communication. Instead, our desire is to use communication to motivate and inspire people to come together to accomplish great and marvelous things. Now remember when I said that good communication happens when both parties seek to influence and be influenced? Communication isn't a one-way street. Every time we enter into a conversation, we are influencing and being influenced simultaneously. Even this video is a two-way street. Right now, I'm seeking to influence your understanding of communication so you can more effectively collaborate with others. That much is obvious. What's more, the mere fact that you're watching this video suggests that you're at least opening to being influenced by the information that I provide. But what about the other way around? Am I seeking to be influenced by you? Absolutely. I rely on input, feedback, and suggestions from my students and viewers such as you to better hone my message and improve my teaching materials. After all, if my teaching materials are no good, then my ability to influence others is greatly diminished. I need to learn from others, in other words, be influenced, so that I can become a better teacher, a better influencer. Without feedback, I have no idea if any of this is worth the bandwidth it's running on. Okay, so if the purpose of communication is to inspire, influence, and affect the attitudes, feelings, and behaviors of others for a specific intent, then before we communicate, the first thing we need to ask ourselves is, what is our intent? What is the purpose of your communication? Is it to persuade, to cause someone to do something through logical reasoning? Is it to instruct, to direct someone to do something? Is it to educate, To give intellectual, moral, or social instruction to transfer skills? Is it to entertain, to provide someone with amusement or enjoyment? Is it to impress? To make someone feel admiration and respect? Is it to request, to ask something of someone? Regardless of whatever verb we attach to our intent, the end is the same. We want to bring about some kind of change, some kind of action. Understanding our intent and purpose is the first step to being an effective communicator. Our purpose will help us decide who the right audience should be. Together, our purpose and audience will then help us decide on the best channel, which then points us in the direction of the best format to use. Only then will we have everything in place to decide on the best way to craft the content and tone of our message. The first part of this series will help us understand this flow. We can then use this flow to better enhance our communication skills. Next time when we get back together, we'll talk about understanding our audience. I hope you'll join me. This episode of Nutshell Brainery was written and produced by Lon Schiffbauer. Our theme music was composed by Scott Holmes. You can learn more about Scott's music by visiting freemusicarchive.org/music/Scott_Holmes/.